today, right? We're in the presence of a legend, a living legend, Miss Dionne Warwick. As she walked in, you gave her a round of applause. Please give her another round of applause. Thank you. We're extremely honored to be in your presence, Miss Warwick. I know I am. And you're also going to be giving a little bit of history to the young ones here today who may not have known of you, but today they're going to know that our living legend has been in the music industry for over 64 years.
Ms. Warwick, your extraordinary career as a singer, actress, and philanthropist has not only brought joy to millions around the globe, but has also set a shining example of perseverance, grace, and dedication to the arts. As one of the most celebrated female vocalists of all time, with over 6 decades of hits like Walk On By, Do You Know the Way, San Jose, That's What Friends Are For, you have inspired generations of artists and fans. Your legacy stands as a testament to the transformative power of music and its ability to unite people across cultures and borders. Before we continue, I would like to extend an apology on behalf of our Minister of Education, Culture, Youth, and Sport, Ms. Melissa Gums, as unfortunately she is unable to join us today due to urgent matters that require her presence there to handle and resolve them. She deeply regrets her absence and sends her warm regards, along with her heartfelt gratitude for your presence here today.
That we call show business, we now refer to as the business of show. For 63 and a half years. And during these 63 and a half years, I have enjoyed very, very much what I do. What do? I sing. And I sing songs that were written specifically for me by 2 young men that I feel to this very minute have been two of the most prolific composers of our time. The name, Burt Bacharach and Hal David. Burt Bacharach, the musician, giving me those wonderful melodies to sing. Hal David, the lyricist, giving me those incredible words to share with you. All of which I hope most of you might be familiar with, and for those who are not familiar with me, ask your mommy and daddy about me. I started in this industry in 1962. Long time ago. Now all y'all know how old I am. At any rate, I recorded for a label called Scepter Records. Scepter Records was owned by a female. How proud of that am I? Enormously. Because during that period of time, females were not known to own anything. They worked for. But Florence Greenberg owned and operated Scepter Records, which inspired me to look forward to the same principle of ownership. I feel I own every single word I've ever sung. And I hope that during the course of this afternoon, this morning, whatever it is, it's too early, that these words that I'm going to share with you will resonate and give you the feeling that I can do that too. Because you all can. Music has and will always be, I refer to as a healing force. Words that mean something, and as a messenger, because that's what I am, a messenger giving and sharing words that are inspirational, that are meaningful, and that are inspiring. I attended the Hart College of Music, where my facility of playing piano and my desire to educate was the reason for going to the Hart College. Graduated with honors, yay. And used those particular instructions that I was given to the best of my ability, which I certainly hope I'll be able to impart to you. My desire was to be the very best at whatever it is that I chose to do, as I hope you will as well aspire to be the very best that you want to be and do. When I left college, I fortunately had a hit record. And that hit record was called Don't Make Me Over, which became almost the steadfast for most who don't want anyone to try to ever make you over. You are who you are. Can't be anybody else, and you should not want to be anybody other than who you are at all times. Today, fortunately, I feel everybody you hear on the radio, and I know them all, I call them clones. You know what a clone is? They all sound the same, don't they? They all try to look the same, don't they? Why? It's because of their choice. I know that to be true. It's the choice of those who throw the wealth that they all attain at them.
Follow up on the questions from last week, if you have insight in the spending of the crime fund and how much money went to the prosecutor's office. And my question is related to what you told about the lagoon. What is the situation really when people of French nationality commit a crime on the Dutch side and are prosecuted on the French side? And I ask this specifically regarding the murder of Sabine Goes, where the perpetrator is prosecuted on the French side, is held in Guadeloupe. So does the Dutch side is not involved in this murder that took place here in Saint Martin?
So a couple different, let me go back to the crime fund. I'm still awaiting that information from within the Justice Ministry, so I'll otherwise make note of it. I was checking to see if my Chief of Staff was still there, but he's not. But I'll make note of this and follow up on it and perhaps provide those in writing to you once we do have some insight. With respect to your other question, I think that is a complex and difficult question to answer. I can't speak specifically on that particular case. I'm also not privy to the details of that investigation specifically. But what I can brief you on is, or explain a little bit, is the way that this usually goes. In this case, as a French national, let's say in this case, the French do not extradite them to the Dutch side. So that the whole issue then is, because they are French nationals, they're held and sent to Guadeloupe, and the cases are prosecuted through the French side. I know that then there is, of course, cooperation between the Dutch side authorities and the French side authorities. However, being that the person is a French national, that is then the prerogative of the French government, who then has a rule that they do not extradite their citizens. And you know, over time, we have seen that this is an issue for us, and because people on the French side are very well aware that if they commit crimes on the Dutch side, typically the French government is not going to extradite them to the Dutch side in order for them to be prosecuted here. So again, you know, we talked earlier about these cross-border issues that we have. One of them, you know, we've seen with what's going on in the lagoon. And another one, unfortunately, is what we're also seeing in the case of, you know, that that people know and they're well aware, oh, if we do that, we'll get away. Maybe we'll just get a slap on the wrist from the French authorities, or they're not going to bother to pick us up. So it is something that, of course, we know and it happens, but again, it's I said that complexity and intricacy of the fact that we are two countries. We have our Soliga flag, and our unity flag, but yet, we're still bound by all of these higher powers and things that have to be regulated much further away from us. I gave the example of the hot pursuit. Those are things, that treaties that have to be signed between Paris and The Hague, over matters that happen here. We've seen it with the issue in Oyster Pond that took years and decades to resolve because it had to happen, so far away from us. And I think those are the realities that we have to deal with as an island divided in two. So I think that, in a nutshell, or maybe more than a nutshell, explains the intricacies of that.
Just for clarification, the Dutch side does extradite French nationals to the French side?
That I would have to double check. I believe that they do, though.
Are you SXM insured? Do you have a valid medical insurance status? SXM is cardless. Request your My SXM account today and enter the virtual office of SXM. Go to sxv.sx and sign up now.
SXM, yeah. Your social health insurances.
Martin, last week I was not here, but I did monitor the press briefing, and a statement was made by the Prime Minister, and I'm assuming that you are the deputy, so I'm asking you the question. I assume that you know what's going on in the Ministry of General Affairs. The statement regarding the Disaster Reserve Fund, moving the money, diverting the money to for housing projects was announced. According to the information I have, documents I have, that fund was initiated by the steering committee some years ago, and the purpose is to secure a disaster fund for St. Martin. What I'd like to know, ministers, and I mean, all of you guys are here, did the Council of Ministers approve the diverting of such funds for housing projects? And if this is the case, ministers, I'd like to know, because we are in a hurricane belt, if another disaster such as Irma should strike us next year, God forbid, what are we going to do then? Go back to the Dutch looking for aid? I'd like to know, are we aware that there are some persons in this country looking for independence? And if that should happen without a disaster reserve fund, where are we going to get the money from? Who are we going to beg? And then the length of time it takes when monies go through this, the World Bank. I mean, have the Council of Ministers brought all this into consideration if, in fact, they took a decision?
Thank you, Bibi, for the question. As far as I am aware, and I'm looking at we haven't discussed anything like that. We had COM yesterday, so no discussion.
It's pending.
It's pending discussion. It's pending discussions tomorrow. So we're pending discussion to discuss that. That is something the Prime Minister, the statement the Prime Minister made, and of course it would have to be discussed internally. And I think your next question, I think it was two questions, but I understood the importance of it. Of course, we don't want to be running back to the Dutch if anything happened to St. Martin. Importance, I think our primary focus right here, right now, is to make sure that we have something set aside for, and I think I'm not only speaking for myself, but I'm sure the Minister of Finance, if you could nod, if you agree, that we would want to have something set aside for God forbid something happened to St. Martin, a hurricane, another pandemic. So I think that is our focus. And I think I would allow, maybe let the Prime Minister come to you in the next press briefing and then maybe give a follow-up to his statement, because it still has to be discussed in COM. I would like to take this opportunity to acknowledge the One St. Martin Association, Dr. Rhoda Arundel, on the signing of the Memorandum of Understanding, the MOU, with the Baku Initiative Group during their recent meeting in Baku, Africa. This agreement signifies a significant step forward in the decolonization efforts for St. Martin, ensuring global support and resources for this critical cause. As a former member of Parliament, I have been deeply invested in the finalization of the decolonization process. The 2020 parliamentary motion that I posed on decolonization and the subsequent petitions to the international bodies has laid a foundation for advancing these efforts. The third report from August 2021 reinforces the necessity of ensuring autonomy and addressing discriminatory practices faced by Caribbean Dutch citizens. I am confident that removing obstacles to self-determination will unlock new opportunities for St. Martin's economic growth and regional collaboration, including the possibility of a full CARICOM membership. This will benefit not only St. Martin, but also the Kingdom as a whole. And finally, it is with great pleasure that I announce the completion and receipt of a final report on an economic impact of the yachting and maritime industry on St. Martin. This comprehensive study was made possible through a dynamic public-private partnership involving the Ministry of Tourism, Economic Affairs, TIAT, the Port of St. Martin, and the St. Martin Maritime Association, SMMTA. These three key partners formed a dedicated project management team to oversee this process, and following a competitive bidding procedure, the consultancy company, which is Eco Sustainability Ltd, was selected to carry out this study, I think, over a year ago. The key findings from the report are as follows. The findings underscore the importance of maritime sector as a cornerstone of St. Martin's economy. The significant economic contribution, the yachting maritime industry accounts for 16.3% of St. Martin's GDP. The growth and vessel arrivals since 1960s, yachting has grown substantially. And in 2023 alone, we recorded 4,029 vessels, including 418 super yachts, 1,484 sailing yachts, and 2,284 motor yachts. Together, these vessels contribute, according to the report, 140 million in direct spending with 26,386 yacht visitors. Major events such as the Heineken Regatta remain a pivotal event for the sector, attracting 63 visiting yachts, 453 international crew members, and 275 volunteers, generating 3.6 million in the economic activity. When it comes to the employment and business impact, the industry supports 300 businesses and sole proprietorship, creating approximately 4,769 jobs and contributing to 242 million in annual expenditures. This study confirms that the maritime industry is a significant driver of our economy and emphasizes the needs for sustainable practices to ensure its long-term growth. We are committed to enhancing the management of our territorial waters, developing new policies and modernizing legislation to improve efficiency and competition and competitiveness, promoting innovation and fostering systemic changes to align the sector with global best practices. My vision is to position St. Martin as a global leader in the maritime industry. This report is the foundation of that journey, offering insights that will guide strategic decisions and development in the years ahead. I extend my heartfelt appreciation to our partners, the Port of St. Martin Maritime Association, and the Ministry of TIAT for their dedication and collaboration. Together, we are charting a course towards a thriving and sustainable maritime industry. The full report will be made available on the government's official website for public review, and a detailed presentation of the findings is planned for 2025, where we will engage stakeholders to discuss the next steps in the industry's development.
Your social and health insurance is your social and health insurances.
Are you SXV insured? Do you have a valid medical insurance status? SXV is cardless. Request your My SXV account today and enter the virtual office of SXV. Go to sxv.sx and sign up now.
Your social and health insurances.
and Jason Martin were on their way to the nursery with their baby when they saw smoke billowing from a house at Boyce Road, Freehill, Blackrock, St. Michael. They immediately contacted the Barbados Fire Service and ran to the two-bedroom wooden structure to see if anyone was at home.
The lady from next door with the greenhouse, she was coming out with a hose. I went and I took the hose from her, trying to wet the house to stop the fire. The smoke got a little bit overbearing, so I ran around to the back of the yard. And I started to wet it from the back of the yard as well.
As loud explosions pierced the air and the fire spiraled out of control, lone occupant Calvin Searles appeared.
We didn't even know the gentleman, the owner, was inside in the yard. He wasn't aware that the house was on fire. So as I was shouting, saying that the house was on fire, he then proceeded to run through the side of the house, and he was in shock. He didn't know that basically the house was going. So he was grateful, and I myself was grateful that it's just a house and not, a house and a life.
The displaced 76-year-old pensioner says the house was uninsured.
And I lose everything. The only thing that I don't have anything but my clothes and what you see me have on here. And if anybody could do anything for me, help, I appreciate it.
Where were you this morning when the fire started?
Well, I was in the yard.
Mm-hmm.
So I didn't even know the house was burning. The truth is this here, when it came out, then a lady told me, because it came from the back. And the front side of the body here, sparks, boom, and the glass started to fly. But I was going back in the house, she said, man, don't go back inside there.
Meanwhile, station officer with the Barbados Fire Service, Roger Bourne, says quick response from the officers at the Bridgetown and Port fire stations prevented a neighboring building from destruction. He is warning Barbadians to take extra care this Christmas.
Everybody's busy, everybody's working, everybody's is trying to get things done. Pay some more attention. Make sure when you leave home on mornings that you have your various unnecessary appliances plugged out. So when I say unnecessary, I mean your fridge is a necessary equipment that can remain in. All the rest can be plugged out. Even if you have to reprogram your video and your DVRs and whatever afterwards, so be it.
Member of Parliament for the area, Neil Rowe, was at the scene contacting relevant government agencies to get Mr. Searle's immediate assistance. This is the second property in less than a week to be destroyed by fire. Anesta Henry, CBC News. The Barbados situation has been highlighted at the opening of a two-day Regional Security and Justice Summit hosted by the Attorney General's Office and the Inter-American Development Bank. Attorney General Dear Marshall says 49 is an alarming figure considering the island's size.
For you, 49 may not seem like a significant figure, but 49 homicides in Little Barbados is a big thing for us. But even that statistic speaks to even more concerning social concerns, since of that number, 49, 16 were as a result of stabbings and bludgeonings. The others were from firearms. That 16 that were the results of stabbings and bludgeonings suggests that there may be underlying mental issues, conflict resolution issues, or anger management issues that we also have to embrace and grapple with as countries.
The Attorney General acknowledges the region has to formulate a common plan of action to address the issues of rising crime. He says Barbados therefore welcomes the establishment of the Alliance for Security, Development and Justice, which will be launched tomorrow.
Its objectives, which focus on the protection of vulnerable populations, building institutional capacity in law enforcement agencies, and stemming illicit financial flows, are problems with which the Caribbean region is grappling. This alliance follows on the heels of our own efforts within the region. Last year, under the chairmanship of Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago, Dr. the Honorable Keith Rowley, the region's heads convened in Trinidad and Tobago to examine crime and violence as a public health concern.
Vice President for Sector and Knowledge at the Inter-American Development Bank, Ana Maria Ibanez, says countries have been working together to structure the Alliance initiative.
And the Alliance will serve as a catalyst for joint efforts across diverse actors. It will strategically complement existing networks who are present today, bringing added value to the ongoing work of the security community in the region.
According to a recent IDB study, which shows the burden crime places on societies, the direct cost of crime in 2022 reached 3.44% of the region's gross domestic product. Anesta Henry, CBC News.